Alright, what's cracking YouTube is DEFCON TCG. As you can see, I got my Snuggie. I'm nice and warm today. It's pretty cold in Illinois today, so I'm comfy today, man. I'm comfy. I got my coffee here, ready to do some post-coms of TGS locals this week. I played the good old Charizard Dawn deck that I've been playing on the channel recently. Putting a lot of time into this deck. I've been enjoying it. I have not really been a fan of Charizard in the past. I guess I just not have liked iterations, but I've always liked the Terra iterations because it felt a lot more powerful than a normal Charizard deck. The normal Charizard deck felt a little bit bricky to me until we got like Jackson Ford's iteration with the Jet Energies and the Tatsugiri. Really cool innovations there. And I'm playing the Charizard Dawn deck. I get the Terapagos lead, which is always good. Whenever you lead a Terra Pokemon, it takes a lot of pressure off your opening hand. And my buddy Mo over here, he's playing Guardy. He gets kind of a weak start. He gets attaching a Dark Energy to Screamtail. Definitely not ideal, but he gets the Ralts down at least, so that's nice. My opening hand over here is pretty nuts. I get a Nest Ball and a Dawn, so I can be able to pretty much get whatever board I want. Because Mo had the pretty weak start, he has no Psychic in the discard pile. He has one Ralts down. I just assume his hand's not that good. So on my turn, I'm just going to prioritize going for the most Pokemon possible on my board, and Mo shows his, I think he showed a Pink Panther song there. Mo's got a whimsical taste in music, but I'm just kind of looking. I'm looking through my deck because I want to be able to get the most amount of basics possible this turn. I do have the Jet Energy plus the Stadium, so I can go wide here, which is pretty nice. So off of the Dawn, I'm going to go with the Charmander, and I should probably be looking to get Pidgeot here because I know I have the Pidgey in the deck. And I'm going to go for Noctowl, which is pretty nice there as well, and the Pidgeot. And then turn 2, I'm just going to want to go for that double rare candy play probably to get the Waterpon down. So here I'm going to be able to Fan Rotom for the Hoothoot, the Pidgey, and another copy of Hoothoot. Go for Area 0 because I have that Terapagos on the bench. I get the bigger bench. And then I just call for family and I can get Charmander and a Duskull. And I'm just kind of looking. I'm a little bit scared that he is able to maybe get Rare Candy, Guardy, Screamtail, but his hand would have to be like double Psychic, Ultra Ball, Rare Candy, Guardy, plus Draw Supporter, which seems pretty unlikely at that point. So I just grab the Waterpon, because next turn, if I go Rare Candy Pidgeot, I can retreat cleanly into Waterpon and then take 2 knockouts onto his board. So most like eyeing up a discard pile, or discard here, so I'm thinking like, oh man, he's got a Secret Box. But no, it ends up being an Ultra Ball that's a little bit underwhelming also. He gets rid of another Dark Energy and that Evo TM. So what Mo told me originally is that here he wanted to go for the Frillish to kind of slow down my turn. Fan Rotom can't knock out Frillish in one hit, and he's going to show the prizes there. Yeah, we see a Lillie, Lillie's Clefairy, and then the Frillish, which are both pretty big deals in this matchup, just because if I go a wide bench like this, then if he attaches to a Clefairy here, I do the Waterpon, then at least the Clefairy can come up and knock out Waterpon. Because I have a pretty wide bench here, it's going to do a lot of damage, so we see Mo bench a Fezandipiti, attach an energy to Screamtail, and then he's just going to go for the Lose Determination. Yeah, fortunate for him, if he would have kept like the Evo TM and then discarded the Fez, he could have attached the Evo TM to Screamtail and guaranteed the turn 2 Guardy. I would have to have a pretty strong hand to go like Noctowl for Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Charizard, and then Pidgeot for Boss Kill Guardy, which is a little risky to go for as the Gardevoir player. Like, do you want to evolve into Gardevoir this turn? It's a little suspect, but at least it guarantees you get a Gardevoir into play. But after my pretty strong start, maybe you just assume that I have it, because I did search a Noctowl off of the Dawn. And the camera didn't focus that well, but Mo's got these super nice Professor Energies. You can kind of see them more here, like these cool, I think they're like early 2000s Professor Energies to go with his Call Dark Energies, which are pretty neat. And yeah, it's going to go back into my turn. I'm going to go for the Noctowl. And here I'm thinking, okay, well, I can go for like Rare Candy plus Gardevoir, and then maybe go for a Crispin play. But then I think, well, Mo's win condition is kind of just to prevent me from getting a Charizard onto the board. So if I just go Rare Candy Charizard, Rare Candy Pidgeot, it seems pretty good here, because I can always circumvent the large attack cost of my Waterpon by just using Charizard to power it up. So I'm actually just going to go for double Rare Candy here, and then I can go for Rare Candy onto the Charizard, or Rare Candy on the Pidgeot first, and then I can Dawn to grab the remaining pieces I need. So here I'm looking for Dusclops for sure. Charizard, and then the last thing I'm going to look for is either a Noctowl or another copy of Charmander, but it looks like I'm going to go for the Charmander here. I think that's fine. I want to be able to have another out to Charizard on the board, and able to go for the Infernal Rain here. And that's going to attach an energy to Charizard to a Water Pond, and then I can retreat with the free retreat on Pidgeot. And then I get to use my Water Pond here. Water Pond is going to be able to use that double snipe attack, and I'm able to knock out Screamtail and Kirlia, putting the game pretty far in my favor. Mo has a pretty weak board here, so he has to get a Rare Candy Gardevoir in order to like really play the game here. And because I do have a Charizard online and a Dusclops that can potentially become a Dusknoir, it's really rough for Mo, especially because now I have a Pidgeot online and I have access to another Noctowl. And Mo bumps my board here, which is pretty good for me because he's going to let me get rid of a Noctowl, a Terapagos, and the Fan Rotom, which Fan Rotom is usually #1 prime target for like Monkey Dory plays. So if Mo wants to use Monkey Dories once he gets set up to move damage to Fan Rotom, it's pretty annoying. There's no way for me to remove my own Stadium in the Charizard deck, which always makes me want to play a third Stadium. But then I just want to play like another Area Zero because Area Zero just lets you kind of do this with your bench, which is pretty silly. But then other times I'm like, well, if I were to include something like a Jamming Tower for late game, because really you wouldn't put it into play early, you would only want it for late game to remove your bench Pokemon. It does conflict with the Water Pond, but that seems pretty good. Maybe it could also be like a Mezagoza. That doesn't seem bad as well. And yeah, so we'll skip back forward a little bit to where we were. So yeah, Mo plays that Artisan. Unfortunately, I can't use Artisan because I do have the full bench, but if Mo does want to take a knockout, I can gain access to the Artisan. So Mo gets the Vessel. Vessel's going to get 2 Psychic Energy, and I think Mo's going to pair it with an Arven here. And Arven is probably going to either get, yep, we see the Secret Box. So Secret Box lets you kind of just do whatever you want for the turn. So it looks like Mo has 2 Psychics he's able to discard. So we go probably for Evo TM to be able to get that as another discard outlet, plus the 2 Psychic Energy that are in the hand. And Mo does have that Rare Candy, so all he needs here is that Ultra Ball to be able to get into a Gardevoir. But it looks like he already actually has the Gardevoir in hand, so he can just use it for another attacker potentially. So yeah, that's an easy discard. He's going to get rid of the 2 Psychic Energies. He's going to go for Night Stretcher, and we'll probably see maybe an Iono or a research if Mo wants to dig more into the deck later in the game. As far as the tool, we'll probably see Bravery Charm here. Bravery Charm seems pretty good as well. So yeah, we see the research and then the Mystery Garden for the following turn to be able to do a little bit more digging. Mo only has 3 Psychic Energy in the discard pile, so it'll be a little bit rough for him to take a big knockout. But he can still get 4 energy into play this turn with the Screamtail. So he's going to go Night Stretcher for Rare Candy, or Night Stretcher for Ralts, and then bench the Screamtail. And here it seems, or he's going to use double Night Stretcher actually, just Night Stretcher for Ralts, Night Stretcher for Screamtail, and then Rare Candy Guardy, and then he's going to play, I think that was a, no, he still has the supporter in hand. He already played an Arven this turn, so he's going to load up 2 energy on Guardy, retreat it, and then if I'm Mo here, I think I want to try to knock out Dusclops or Hoothoot. I think both are fine options. Because I do have the Pidgeot, knocking out Hoothoot seems maybe a little bit weak, just because I can get whatever I want with the Charizard. But then, because if I don't have access to Hoothoot, maybe it's a little bit harder for me to get like a full combo play off. But then the Dusclops also means that, right, let's say I have like Rare Candy Charizard, I can go Rare Candy Charizard, put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, retreat into Charizard, and then maybe go like Boss's Order the Gardevoir on the bench here. But maybe that is a little bit harder to do so with that Hoothoot in play, but I think both are kind of fine. Yeah, Mo's going to move 3 over with the Monkey Dory to Pidgeot. I think also maybe just putting 160 on Pidgeot is fine here. 160 plus 60 is going to be 280, or 220, so then double Monkey Ping would knock out Pidgeot on the following turn. So pairing like another Monkey plus, let's say like a Mega, I guess you can't do Mega Diancie because I have a Dusclops in play. But let's say you were to do like a Lillie's Clefairy because I'm at 4, then maybe you go like Lillie's Clefairy, hit this, hit into this. Especially if I go wide again, it can definitely put a lot of damage on one of my Charizards by just doing like a big Lillie play or Lillie's Clefairy play. Obviously that card's prized, so we wouldn't be able to have access to it this game. And Charizard is really one of those decks where cards like Drifloon can shine. I know Drifloon hasn't been popular recently in builds, but I don't know. I just really love that card. And let's see. Back onto my turn, I do the Crispin. I'm just going to use it to get my Water Pond out of the active here. I don't have enough juice here to just kind of like redo the Water Pond play. And I'm going to spend my Dusknoir on knocking out Monkey Dory so that I'm able to bench another Duskull. If Mo has access to double Monkey Dory here, then he's going to be able to knock out my Duskull with a double Monkey Ping. So I definitely want to avoid that. Any cheese kills for Mo puts him closer to winning the game. So obviously don't want to let him have that. Well, let's see what else. Yeah, I'm going to just have a pretty nice turn here. So I'm going to end my turn by setting up another Duskull, getting another Hoothoot down, and then I'm evolving Charmander into Charmeleon, and I just have a backup Charmander here. I want to thin out as many cards in my deck as possible, because more than likely, I'm getting Iono this turn, and then if Mo is able to find, like, Counter Catcher plus an Iono, it could get rough for me. So yeah, I'm going to take a knock on a Screamtail, and I'm going to go to 2 prizes, and I believe Mo is at 4 or 5 still, so definitely looking a little bit rough here. Mo definitely wants to get into a Kirlia or a second Gardevoir here. I mean, I guess I'm at 2, so I guess the second Gardevoir doesn't really matter as much, but he's going to play Mystery Garden here, and I'm just thinking about what I want to discard. I was thinking about getting rid of his Hoothoot here, but I think I want to remove the Fezandipiti because it removes another 2 prizer off my bench. Obviously, the Pidgeot is a lot more valuable than Fez, so even keeping that as a 2 prizer on the board is fine, because Mo is going to have to invest all of his resources into killing it this turn. And then I still have access to double Noctowl with the Charizard. Mo basically tells me here he needs to hit a pretty extensive combo. So Mo needs to hit a Super Rod because he already used double Stretcher. And then he also needs to hit his Luxurious Cape and a Screamtail to be able to knock out Pidgeot. And then just kind of hope that I'm not able to get this Charmeleon out of the active for another turn. And then he can potentially win on the following turn with like some Monkey Pings, be able to go like Dark. He has to draw really well here, right? Here it has to be like Dark, Monkey, Super Rod, out to get the Screamtail back out of the deck, and then the Lux Cape. So it's a pretty extensive combo, but he has to draw 7 off Research and 3 off Fezandipiti, so it's not impossible, right? So you see the Earthen Vessel. Earthen Vessel is going to thin 2 cards out of the deck. Mo just wants to get the most amount of non-combo pieces out of the deck before using Fezandipiti, so just getting rid of all of those cards he might not need. So he still has that Ultra Ball in hand, which is pretty good. So if he draws that Super Rod, then he can just use that card in order to get that Screamtail back into play. I think that's a Mew, and nothing really crazy there to be able to get back into the game here. He has a Monkey Dory in hand. It looks like he's trying to thin his hand down for a Mew, but it looks like he's about short for it. So yeah, he's going to evolve into Kirlia, bench the Monkey Dory, and then he can Ultra Ball away. Maybe if he would have kept that Kirlia in hand, he could have Ultra Balled away the Kirlia and the Psychic Energy to be able to go Rare Candy Guardian, then it gets rid of another card out of the hand. Yeah, you can Ultra Ball away Kirlia Ralts there for Gardevoir, and then go Rare Candy Gardevoir. Gets rid of 1 more card out of the hand, and he gets your second Guardian to play. But maybe it's just the Mystery Garden to draw 2 cards here is also not that bad. If you draw a second Ultra Ball there, then it gives you another out to Mew, and then yeah, Mo just whiffs the Super Rod there, so he's just going to scoop it up because, yeah, if I have any sort of out, then I just win. And Mo just asked me, well, if I Iono you, what were the top 2 cards of my deck? And the top 2 cards of my deck were Noctowl Boss, which is pretty crazy. Just, I mean, it's one search off of the Pidgeot just gets Noctowl, and then Noctowl can get, like, Ultra Ball Boss for Charizard, so I just get 1 energy out of the deck. I do have the Sparkling Crystal in hand as well. Knock out Gardevoir, game's over. And then there's my nice little Movado watch. It's my favorite watch. All right, and we'll just get into round 2. All right, for round 2, it's actually a Charizard mirror match. My buddy Gage and I have been working on this deck a lot, and we're playing a pretty similar build. I think we're like same 58 or 59-ish cards. The only thing is Gage couldn't find access to those 70 HP Charmanders, so I think he's playing 280 HP Charmanders. And man, there's a lot of glare on this game. Maybe I shouldn't have sat this close to the lights, but it's fine. We can still kind of make out what like most of the cards are. But This is going to be a Buddy Poffin for a Fan Rotom and a Charmander, I believe. And Gage is going to kind of look at his deck. He wins the die roll and elects to go first, because if you do hit the Waterpon plus energy attachment, it's pretty devastating, especially for the Charizard opponent. But let's see. Maybe I'll have to start using just darker sleeves for the videos, just so maybe there's not this much of a glare. There wasn't this much of a glare in the first video, but maybe it's just because of the time of day it was. Maybe the sun is just getting in here a little bit too much. I wasn't sitting anywhere near the window, so thankfully for me, I did leave this Waterpon. So on my turn, I'm thinking, well, I can sob Fezandipiti so that Gage isn't able to get off a more meaningful attack. If he wants to spend his Charizard to just attach 3 energy to Fezandipiti, that is a pretty weak play, but it ends up being not a terrible play for him. His hand is pretty strong, but on my turn, I think I'm only able to get down 1 Charmander, which is probably a mistake, because Gage does have access to that Fezandipiti. He can potentially just use Cruel Arrow to take a knockout onto one of my Charmanders, so I probably should have prioritized setting up 2 Charmanders here. Yeah, I'm going to go for Fan Rotom to get Pidgeotto Pidgeot, so maybe I have to, my hand's a little bit slow, so maybe I just kind of have to evolve the hard way, but I end up just opening a ton of basics, so it's not really a problem too much. Still a pretty solid opening. I'm able to get Lead Terra plus a Dawn off, which is pretty nice. Cannot complain about that at all. And yeah, let's see. Going back into Gage's turn, yeah, I'm just going to set up that Pidgey and then pass. And then go for the Sob. See, Gage did have an energy in hand turn 1 there. So if he was maybe able to retreat into something else, it probably would have been a bit better. If I was him, I probably would have retreated into Pidgey, just so then I know I'm going to prioritize evolving into Pidgeot, probably before Charizard. So then that way, if I do go Sob, I'm able to just evolve into my free retreater, and then I can free retreat back into Charmander, or even Fan Rotom, hit this for 70, or evolve into Charizard, hit this for 180. And then I can set up my own Duskulls for the following turn. Because the only way I'm able to knock out opposing Charizard is by going Rare Candy Duskull, or Rare Candy Dusknoir, Rare Candy Charizard, and then Pop Swing, which is a lot to do turn 2. So I think, yeah, retreating this is probably better. Yeah, I think just holding the fire might be a misplay there. Especially because here, if he had, I think he drew a second fire energy, right? Yeah, because he has a fire energy right here in his hand. He could have, like, attached fire energy to this again, and maybe gone, like, Rare Candy Charizard, attach a 3rd fire energy to Fez, and then 2 to Charmander, and then use Fezandipiti to snipe into his own Charmander. And then he has Fez Charizard, and then my board is just garbage, because I don't have a Charizard that's able to evolve in the following turn. So that is pretty rough. Need some more water. All right, and so, yeah, Gage is going to just play it safe here and evolve into his Charmeleon, and then play the Lillie's Determination. I think because this Fezandipiti is stuck, you maybe just have to go for the high roll play of Rare Candy Charizard. Because the Charmeleon only does have 110 HP, it's not going to be able to... Because it has 110 HP, Gage is not going to be able to have this be saved, because Waterpon does 120 damage to the bench, and even if this card goes to the active, it's weak to water, so then Waterpon just still kills it. So sometimes maybe you have to just risk it for the biscuit. Gage does get a pretty good hand here. He's able to play this Nest Ball for a Terra Pokemon, and then have the Area 0 plus the Noctowl. So he actually could have gotten the full playoff here and have gone like, okay, use Waterpon and then bench the... He could have... I think this... Yeah, you can play this turn out a little bit better, right? So I think not evolving this is probably correct before the Lillie, and then just kind of hoping for the best off of the Lillie, right? Because all you really need is a Terra Pokemon plus an out to Noctowl. So it's like Nest Ball plus Ultra Ball, or Nest Ball plus Noctowl, or Ultra Ball Noctowl, or, you know, Noctowl plus Raw Terra. And you pretty much get full combo, because you're able to go Rare Candy Pidgeot, and then Rare Candy into the Charizard. And because he did also have the Fan Rotom here, obviously maybe he just doesn't want to get me to take a 2-prize turn, but it's not that difficult for me at this point, because all I need is an energy attachment, crystal, and then a boss's order to be able to play around his Waterpon. And then, like, stopping my water pond doesn't really do anything, because if I, take a 2-prize knockout, it's already going to die to Charizard. And now Gage has to prioritize setting up a second Charmander, which I don't even know if he does here, to be honest. Because there's no way he's able to get into a Charizard this turn, and he's not able to use the Water Pond's second attack on this turn, because he already played a supporter card. So, we're going to see what he wants to do with this turn. Yeah, we see him eyeing the Buddy Poffin. So it'll probably be, yeah, we see Rare Candy Buddy Poffin, which is pretty good. He's just going to want to set up his board a little bit more. Definitely wants to prioritize getting a second Charmander here. But he's going to grab Duskull. I mean, he still hasn't used his Pidgeot yet. So yeah, he can use the Pidgeot and just search that second Charmander out. So now he's got a pretty good board. He's all set up, and then he goes for his own Sob. But again, like, it's just not... The Sob here isn't really doing much heavy lifting, because I want this Water Pond to attack this turn. And especially because I top deck Charizard there, which is probably the best top deck I could have gotten, just to be able to simplify my turn a lot more. I don't have to use additional Noctowl to, or I don't have to use like an additional search off my Pidgeot to be able to get that Charizard into hand, like using a Dawn to just be able to get it online. So now, instead, I can just use it for the Pidgeot for the boss's order, or the extra piece I need to attack with this Water Pond this turn. So, I'm going to go for the Rare Candy Charizard, Rare Candy Pidgeot. Charizard's going to get 3 energy out of the deck. So I'm going to put, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just one's going to go here, 2's going to go here. So Charizard's ready to attack, Water Pond's ready to attack. And then I already have the boss's order in hand, so Pidgeot's just going to search out that Sparkling Crystal, which is pretty nice. And then, yeah, I'm going to be able to take 2 knockouts with the Charizard, or with the Water Pond onto his Charmeleon and his Charmander. So this is going to put Gage very far behind here. So even if Gage on this turn is able to go, like, his best play is probably, like, counter catcher Dusclops, and then knock out Dusclops Hoothoot, set up 2 more Charmanders. And then, as long as I have the Pidgeot, so you just kind of have to assume that I maybe have the Crispin to do it again. Yeah, Gage's best play still here is to just go like counter catcher plus counter catcher plus Crispin is probably his best play here, just because he doesn't have access to a Charizard. Definitely, I would have liked to see Gage go for the Fezandipiti before playing the Dawn, to see that if he ripped another Noctowl, he had the play for sure. Because all you do is go counter catcher Crispin, and then it puts you back into this game for sure. Having the Duskull and the Charizard mirror is extremely important, oppositely to not. Like, if you have access to Dusknoir and your opponent doesn't, there's a way higher chance you're able to win the game. And I think I talked to Gage about this play after the game, where, like, this seems like a pretty weak play, in my opinion, just kind of doing, like, another setup turn here. But, yeah, because he used the Dawn as, like, his first action for turn, I would have liked to see him probably fish for more cards first, just so that he kind of has a better idea of what he wants to use, like, his Pidgeot search on. I would rather, like, pad the hand first with the Fezandipiti. But, like, from here, it's looking really bad for Gage, because on my following turn, I can go, like, okay, attach the Water Pond, and then use the Duskull to pop something, and then, like, boss's order up a 2-prizer. And then if I go up 4 prizes to 6, like, the game is just super over. So Gage is kind of thinking, like, what is his best play to potentially get back into this game, now that he can't do, like, the counter catcher play. I think I talked to him about it this turn, actually, because, like, he already played a supporter. So there's not really something for him to go for here. So we just flip over our prize card. He scoops the game up pretty much at this point, because it's like, there's nothing for him to really do here at this point. Oh, he prized a Sparkling Crystal as well, which means, yeah, his only out there was, like, counter catcher Crispin. So yeah, just kind of maybe a turn that could have been sequenced a little bit better. But I think just, like, this deck has so many lines you can go for. It's definitely a tough deck to play. So, I mean, I can't really blame him for, you know, doing that small misplay. Especially when, like, Dawn is such an enticing card to play in this deck, because it does whatever you want, right? It gets your Pidgeot, searches whatever card you want. It gets a Noctowl, searches whatever card you want. Or it can get a Duskull to take a prize, or a Dusknoir, or a Charizard that gets your energy out of your deck. Or it gets your Water Pond that does a bunch of damage, or does your Terapagos that does a bunch of damage. So it's really just dependent on what you kind of need at the moment, or what you're seeing. So if you don't see a certain line, it's, you know, tough, because maybe you misplay and don't do, like, the most optimal one, right? All right, and on to round 3. I'm actually going to scroll back a little bit. It went a little faster than I thought. And it's going to be versus Mega Manectric, which is definitely a cool deck. Hitting this at 2-0 was definitely not on my bucket list. Or, I guess that's not really how to use that right. But I guess it wasn't really an expectation for me to hit this at 2-0. Shout out to my boy Quee for giving me the Rice Krispie treat in the middle of the round. There's like a minimum at our card shop to use the card. So I think he just needed to buy another snack. And look at my opponent's hand. He's got some interesting cards in here. He has the Iron Thorns lead, which is pretty rough for me to go against. Thankfully, because I am playing a Fan Rotom deck, I do have a little bit of counterplay to it. And the nice thing is that it only turns off the Charizard and the Pidgeot in my deck. And so, yeah, like I was saying, it only turns off the Charizard, the Pidgeot, and the Fezandipiti into my deck. So that means I can still use a lot of the fun cards like the Hoothoot into the Noctowl, so I'm able to get like some of my deck and my strategy going. I do get a pretty strong hand here of Poffin plus Dawn. Anytime you open Dawn this deck going second, it's like a plus a million because Fan Rotom's going to get you 3 cards and then you get the 2 evolutions, but we're just going to see the attach to electric plus the Iron Thorns here. I top deck the Water Energy, which is pretty good as well. I'm going to get the Nest Ball, and I'm probably either going to get Fan Rotom or my Terra Pokemon. I'm definitely going to want to prioritize getting Terapagos in this matchup. Terapagos is going to do a lot more damage into the Iron Thorns. It's going to be able to one-shot it with a full bench, which is really nice. And then, of course, Waterpon is also weak to electric, I believe, so definitely don't want to have that down against the fully electric deck. Does not seem like a good time. So, yeah, I'm going to get the Terapagos here, and I'm probably going to attach an energy to it as well. That way here, I can go Buddy Poffin, I can Buddy Poffin, and I can start getting my guys down. So yeah, I definitely want to go for the Charmander here. And then I can pair that with the Fan Rotom because I already have the Duskull in the active, which is pretty nice. And I think in this matchup, I just want to prioritize getting as many Hoothoots down as possible just because I don't want to rely on Pidgeot, especially with an Iron Thorns in the active spot, especially because Iron Thorns can knock out Pidgeot in one hit. I'm not really too concerned if my Hoothoot gets knocked out in one hit. It's like, oh well. But yeah, this guy getting knocked out in one hit, being Pidgeot, not a great thing for me. And I'm going to hold the Dawn here as well. I was kind of scared of like something like Judge, because sometimes these Iron Thorns deck plays copies of Judge as like an early game hand disruption. So I just wanted to save the most amount of live outs as possible. And then yeah, my opponent's going to go. He top decks the, what is that card called? The Future Booster Energy, which is pretty nice for him. To be able to retreat this big boy out of the active, which is also a plus for me because I do not want to see this guy in the active on my following turn, so I can use Charizard. For those who aren't familiar with the Mega Manectric, it has 2 attacks. It has Flashing Ray, this is 120 damage for 2 Lightning Energy, and it says basic Pokemon cannot do damage to the Mega Manectric on the following turn. And the second attack is 200 plus 130. Discard all energy attached to it. If you do, you get the second part of the attack. So 330 for 3 energy, not that bad. It also has free retreat, so you can pivot out of your Mega Manectrics pretty seamlessly. You can pair that with something like Electric or Magneton to be able to get a bunch of energy into play, swap between them, and then your opponent can pretty much never smack into your Manectric if they're playing an all-basic deck. They have to guss around it or into a new one. So yeah, my opponent's turn here. It looks like they drew that Lightning Energy to be able to get the knockout onto my Duskull, which is pretty solid. And then they do have an Electric Generator as well in hand, so they can Electric Generator to try to hit some energy onto the Iron Thorns here. So boom, we see an Electric Generator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's a swing and a miss there, unfortunately. I was seeing if Electric Generator only attached to basic Pokemon or not, but it is just kind of any Pokemon, which is nice. But yeah, here I'm able to go into Terapagos. And here I top deck Counter Catcher, which is pretty insane. So I'm going to be able to get this attack off this turn, which is pretty nice. So I'm going to be able to go Dawn. And I just have to think of a way to get like full bench plus in area 0. So I'm thinking, okay, I can go for Fezandipiti to beef my hand up a little bit, and then go for a second Noctowl and Charizard. So I probably am going to Noctowl for like area 0 plus a Poffin, which seems pretty good. And I'm just debating on going for that first or not. I can also go Rare Candy Charizard before going for the Fez as well, which I think is probably the correct sequencing here. Is probably to go Rare Candy into Charizard so I don't draw the Fire Energy and then use the Fezandipiti. So yeah, I think that's what I want to do here. Yep, go for Noctowl. Noctowl is probably going to grab, I would assume Rare Candy Area 0, because it's the least likely card for me to draw is Area 0. So yeah, I'm going to go for Rare Candy into Charizard. Charizard's ability is going to proc here, so I'll be able to get 3 energy off of the Charizard here, which is pretty nice. I'm looking for that third one. I think I do have it in deck. I just glossed over it. So yep, 2 to the active, and then 1 to the active, and then 2 to the bench Charizard to be able to set up my attack for both. And my opponent just reminds me like, hey buddy, just so you know, like, this Terapagos can't attack my Manectric. And I was like, oh well, thank you for letting me know. That is like very, gentlemanly of my opponent to, remind me in case I was going to attack with Terapagos and do it. But now, because I'm able to thin those 3 Fire Energies out of my deck, I have a lot more cards that are alive off of this Fezandipiti. And then if I whiff, I'm still able to just kind of use this last copy of Noctowl to fill up my board. But I do get a Nest Ball and a Charmander off of the Fezandipiti, so I'm able to fill my bench up. And because I'm knocking out the Iron Thorns this turn, I think it's fine for me to bench this copy of Pidgey. Because if my opponent doesn't have an Iron Thorns in play, they can't stop me from using my abilities. So, yep. But I think I just prioritize the second Hoothoot. Maybe I prioritize second Hoothoot because I have double Noctowl in hand. So it's more likely that I'm going to be able to just evolve into double Noctowl unless my opponent has something like an Iono. But if they do go like Iono plus KO, then my Fezandipiti can just draw me some cards. So I get the counter catcher to bring up Iron Thorns, and then bang, my Terapagos is going to hit for 240. Take that knockout, 2 prizes. And I get the second Area 0 there, so should have probably checked if the other one was prize, but thankfully both of them weren't prize, or so I would have been able to pull this play off. And then my prize trade is pretty, how do I say this here? It's pretty on the board. Sorry about that, I had to do a cough. And so, looking at my opponent's board, yeah, I took 2 prizes, they have 3 prizes down. If they bench any 1 prize support Pokemon, which they do with this Dynamo, my prize trade is pretty much here. So, I can use my Rare Candy Duskull, or Rare Candy to Dusknoir, pop it into the Manectric, and then use my Charizard to knock out Manectric. And then my opponent's board is pretty weak, it's just a Dynamo, so if I'm able to 2-shot this Manectric, it's pretty nice. If my opponent wants to go for the attack that says that I cannot hit it with the basic Pokemon, I can just retreat in a Charizard, hit it for 210. 210 plus the 130 on the Dusknoir is going to be 10 more HP than Knockout. And I think I'm holding double fire there, so Iono's kind of fine. Unfortunately, I am losing 2 of my Noctowls, but I'm going to draw 4 cards here, so it's not the end of the world. And it ends up being Waterpond, Double Nor, and something, which is definitely a little bit of an underwhelming hand, especially if my opponent has like a pretty solid turn here. But like worst case scenario, I can just double evolve the Duskull. I can just go, all right, evolve into Clops, retreat swing. He swings into me. Even if he kills my Charizard, right, I just go evolve into Nor, pop, and then I just have to find 1 more knockout with either using like Crispin on Terapagos or like Rare Candy Charizard on Charmander. But looks like my opponent's just going to kind of set up their board here. They definitely want to pivot in and out of Manectric so that they're able to not take as much damage. Like, they want to be able to, like, pivot between them and maybe find boss's orders. Top deck Briar here, which, again, isn't really going to do anything for me here. So I'm just going to evolve into Dusclops, take a pretty slow turn here. And then I think I'm just going to retreat Terapagos into Charizard and then smack into my opponent here. I really have nothing to do on this turn. I'm just kind of taking stock on what's in my discard pile, just debating whether or not it's worth it to attack with Charizard and just letting my Terapagos have no energy on it. But I think that is the better play here. I think I was also debating maybe using Dusclops on one of the Dynamos to take a prize card, but it doesn't seem that worth it. I think it's just more in my favor to just take the turn slow, Charizard into Manectric, and then use Dusknoir. If my opponent wants to use that second attack on the Manectric to take 2 prize cards, it's fine because I can still use my Dusknoir, and then I still also get access to Fezandipiti. So as long as the Fezandipiti, I get access to a Noctowl, so like a Dawn is game. So I can see the top 4 cards in my deck because I get to draw a card for turn and then use Fez. So I see an Ultra Ball from the opponent. Ultra Ball Here I was assuming my opponent was going to grab, like, a second Manectric or maybe an Electric. If I was him, I'd probably prioritize Electrics here just because I do have this Clops on the bench. It's going to be able to knock out one of these for a prize. And then if I'm able to get a Crispin onto Terapagos if he uses the second attack, which I think is pretty likely here. I think he wants to get this Charizard off the board. Then, yeah, it'll just be an easy KO here because this only has 120 HP left. I only need 4 bench Pokemon to do so, so I wouldn't even need to bench another Pokemon if my opponent had, like, Stadium Bump plus the attack. So, yeah, we see a Lillie's here from the opponent. Lillie's going to draw 6 cards. He was asking if he's going to shuffle again because he just went into his deck and we cut and everything. So I was like, no, you're good. Just draw your cards. And because I think, like, there's really not much my opponent can do here. I think my board state's just a little bit too strong. Pretty good chance off the top 4 cards that I find, like, any sort of supporter card here. Because I think I've only played a Dawn. Maybe I've played 2 at this point. But yeah, if I've only played 1 Dawn, then it's pretty likely for me to find, like, any supporter to be able to do anything for the most part. All right, I'm back. I had to go take the bathroom break really quick. Sometimes recordings take a little while, so gotta, duel up, fuel up, use the washroom. So, yeah, looks like my opponent here, like I said, they're just gonna go for that big Manectric attack to be able to knock out the Charizard. They definitely want to get that bad boy off the board. I'm gonna promote my Duskull here because I want to have a free pivot. Nothing on my board has free retreat at the moment. Don't have access to Pidgeot, and I don't want to leave Terapagos in the active just in case my turn is a whiff, and then I want to make him knock out a 2-prizer at least, or make him have a Gust at least, so that maybe right on my turn, if I Fezandipiti and my supporter's Iono, at least maybe I can go like Dusclops, pop this Electric here, and then promote like Fan Rotom, and then go for Iono, and then maybe like he whiffs the Gust. My opponent doesn't have a lot going for them on their board. They do have this Electric here to accelerate 1 energy, but they don't have another Mega Manectric in play to do any damage. So, it's not the worst decision ever. I definitely want. My opponent did have a Levincia in hand. I don't know if they had this before the prize card. If they did, maybe I would have liked them to play that just to be able to limit my bench down a little bit. So yeah, because if I'm me, I'm probably getting rid of like Fan Rotom, Noctowl, and like a Hoothoot, which limits me to only 1 Hoothoot on my bench, because I definitely want to keep the Charmander if I get Rare Candy Charizard. It's just game. Let's see here. And I think I top-decked Waterpon here, so I'm going to go for Fez. I get Sparkling Crystal, Lillie's Determination, and Pidgeot. So, let's see. I think I'm just going to go for the... What did I just play there? Some sort of ball card. I think I grabbed the Nest Ball there. So I think I'm just going to use that. Or no, it was double Poffin. So yeah, I play the Poffin, fail the first one, and then I'm going to play the second Poffin to get Pidgey. Just want to thin that card out of my deck so that I can potentially draw something better off of this Lillie's Determination. So I think here I'm going to go for a Sparkling Crystal attachment and then probably just the Lillie's Determination. Yeah, so go for Dusknoir. And I think maybe it's even better to go for the pop first to maybe get some more information. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Dusknoir, pop the Mega Manectric, and then, yep, takes a prize card, and then I'm going to take 3 prize cards. But then, I look 1, 2, 3, and I see the Jet Energy there, so Jet Energy plus the Sparkling Crystal is going to be able to knock out whatever attacker my opponent has, because they don't have a 3-prizer to have some beefy HP to be able to live a hit. So yeah, the Miraidon's going to come to the active. And then yeah, I just have the Sparkling Crystal plus the Jet Energy, and then I can bench Charmander, and then I have the free attack per game because of the Sparkling Crystal, and then bang. That is going to be the round 3 versus Mega Manectric, so we'll get into this final round. Alright, so silly me on this one. I think that what happened was I hit record on my camera, and then my memory got full, so I had to switch SD cards, but I didn't really notice until the end of, I think, Qui's turn, because I think, let's see, this is the final round, and it's a Charizard mirror, and I think, okay, so basically all that happens this game, right, is that Qui gets a Fan Rotom knockout turn 1 on my active Pokemon. I'm not really sure if I remember what it was, but then on my second turn, I'm able to go, like, counter catcher up one of Qui's Charmanders, and then go for the Waterpon to get a double knockout. And then that lets me just kind of get back into the game to reestablish my board. I think this is my turn after that I do the water pond, because I'm able to like do a little bit more setup. And then Quee's turn on his, he gets his first turn to set up, and then I go back into my turn. I get like the counter. He takes a knockout, and I go counter catcher, take a knockout, and then he hits me for 70 with water pond. I take a turn to set up, don't attack, and then he takes a turn to just Fan Rotom again, and then that's why this has 140 on it. And so then I think, yeah, I believe it's my turn now, so I'm able to go for the Noctowl here, and it's pretty much impossible for me to get that play off again, unfortunately, so I'm probably just going to be looking to set up my board here more, so mainly just looking for, like, Rare Candy plus my out to Pidgeot, and, take a sip of my coffee. It's early in the morning still, so gotta wake up, get fueled for the day. All right, so let's see. I'm just kind of eyeing up what I want to get off of my Noctowl, just kind of thinking about what is the best play here. Do I want to try to go for a 2-prizer liability, or do I want to go for like a potential water pond play again if I'm able to do that? So I'm going to go for a Rare Candy, and it's probably just going to be Dawn here. Thinking if there's a way I can try to get like a boss's order kill double Charmander again, but it seems like it's pretty low chances here. So I mean, I also have the option of potentially going like, if my hand's like the super nuts, I can go like Rare Candy Charizard, Rare Candy Dusknoir, and then knock out like Fan Rotom Mander, and then, yeah, it just leaves my opponent with pretty much nothing on the board. That would probably just be game. I also really didn't want to sob because my opponent's playing the Terapagos version, and this version plays Prime Catcher. So it's an easy out to just get out of the active to be able to swing around one of my 2-prize Pokemon. So like it's an easy like, Rare Candy Charizard, I've taken 2 prizes, and then just like Prime Catcher up my Charizard, hitting it into it, or Prime Catcher kill the Fez. So yeah, I'm gonna go for Super Rod here. I do have a bunch of fire energy. So yeah, I can Super Rod, put back double fire, and then here I can go Rare Candy for the fire onto Charizard. And this is pretty nice here for me because I'm able to get a good amount of fire energy into play here. So I can split them up. I can go 2 onto the active and then 1 onto the bench Charizard. So then that way I have 2 Charizards that each have an energy on them. And then this way, if my opponent wants to kill one of my Charizards, I still have another backup Charizard that has an energy attached to it. But then this way I'm able to use my water pond to be able to take 2 prize cards. And then looks like I'll leave a card on my opponent's board. So I'm just going to shuffle that bad boy up real quick. And because I don't know if it was supposed to be on the top or the bottom. He probably just missed. He probably didn't pick it up when he went to cut my deck, I think. So, yeah, I have the Pidgeot in hand also, too, so I'm able to evolve into Pidgeotto there. So then Pidgeotto turns into Pidgeot, and then I can do whatever I want. So then, yeah, we see the water pond. It's going to knock out the Fan Rotom and the Dusclops, which I did have a Pidgey in play on the last turn, so maybe it would have been beneficial for Quee to go and use the Dusclops into my Pidgey to prevent this from becoming a Pidgeot. Obviously, this will be down to 3 prizes, so that if I have, like, Rare Candy Dusknoir, Boss Fez, Briar, like, that's just, I can just game him on that turn, so I can see the reason why maybe he wouldn't do it, but it is tough to say. Because in this scenario, right, I'm up 3 prize cards. If Quee gets, like, Rare Candy Charizard here, it has to be, like, because I'm only at 4 prizes taken, so you're only going to do 300 damage with Charizard, so you're not KOing my Charizard, which means you have to attack into a 2-prizer, and then if my Charizards, plural, get to swing like once into your Charizard, and then you swing into my Charizard, and then my Charizard just kills your Charizard, then the game is just over. So like this is a pretty big deficit to overcome from Quee. The board is not super strong. He has the Terapagos, he has the double Charmander, the Hoothoot. So like he has stuff to work with, also with the Fezandipiti. So like he has able to draw some cards. And it looks like his hand is pretty solid. He's going to have the Rare Candy Charizard. I think if I'm Quee there, I think I'm going for the Rare Candy Charizard first. Just unless I'm missing energy in the deck with like Super Rods. Looks like he has 1 fire in the hand. Looks like he's 1, 2. Yeah, I don't know if because he already has Iono. I think like if I'm Quee, I'm going like Rare Candy Charizard. Get Charizard into play, attach 2 to the active, 1 to the bench, and then going for Iono to keep that Noctowl open because I already have the Iono in my hand. So he's just thinking, yeah, what he wants to get off this Noctowl. There's no way for him to go for a Briar turn. I'm like, if he does go for the Briar turn here, it's not that bad. Take 3 prizes on the Ogerpon. But then if I have Clops plus Fire Energy, I win the game. So it's like, you're giving me the 3 cards off the Fezandipiti. Plus if I have like a potential Pidgeot, like that could also be rough. Also just Fire Energy plus Clops, it just wins me the game outright. Which isn't super crazy to get. Especially because you're Ioning me to 2, I draw a card and then draw 3 for Fez. So I get 6 cards to work with, which is pretty solid. And it looks like Queezy's going to spend his Noctowl on kind of just building a bigger board here. Yeah, he's going to use his Buddy Poffin. Buddy Poffin's going to grab Duskull and Hoothoot. And then he's probably just going to Iono me because I think my hand's probably pretty big here. And then, yeah, boom. Rare Candy Pidgeot for Charizard. Charizard's going to get all those guys into play. And then we'll see the Iono probably get slammed here because it looks like I have a pretty decently sized hand. So then, like, Quee's follow-up here, like, ideally is... I don't know, it's rough because you, like, 3-shot this Waterpon, which is definitely not where you want to be at. I draw 2, and it's Dawn Pidgeotto, so I'm like, pretty sure that's game. Because I can go for... Dawn gets Pidgeot plus the Dusclops. Clops pop into the active. Makes Queez. So Queez can take 2 prize cards here. So he'll go to 3 prize cards taken. Clops is going to pop for 50 damage on the active. Quee will go to 4 taken. So then my Charizard's doing 300. And then because Charizard's doing 300, the 50 damage plus from the Dusclops is going to do 350 total. So then my Charizard will be able to knock out his Charizard outright. And I'm able to complete that combo because the Pidgeot can just search me a Fire Energy out of the deck. Or if I had Sparkling Crystal in the deck still, I could have used the Pidgeot to grab Sparkling Crystal, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I'm just kind of waiting to see if Quee has like any sort of counterplay to it. And yeah, looks like he's going to go for Pidgeot. Pidgeot's going to grab Briar. So yeah, I think he's just hoping that on my turn I'm not able to find a knockout. And then he can just go like Prime Catcher or Briar, because I think he prized the Prime Catcher, but it's not that ridiculous to just hope to get it off the prize there. And he ends up finding the Prime Catcher off the prize there, so this turn I could have actually lost if I hadn't found what I needed. So I think here is probably right to just promote Pidgeot, but I think I can just guarantee have the combo. And I'm going to go for the Fezandipiti. Fez is going to find me that Fire Energy, so I can attach that Fire Energy and then just go for the Dawn, and then that'll just be game. Yeah, go for Dawn. Dawn. Gonna grab... I'm going to look for probably like Pidgeot plus Dusclops, just in case there's anything that I'm missing here. I unfortunately can't grab Nor. I can't grab like Nor and then like Pidgeot for Rare Candy because I can't grab 2 stage 1s. But then, yeah, I'm going to go for Clops. Clops is going to ping for 50. Queezy's going to take a prize. Dodge Charizard's doing 300. 300 plus 50 is 350. And that's going to be game. And yeah, that's it. And then, yeah, I'm going to go 4-0 at this week's TGS League with the Big Lizard. Definitely a super fun deck to play. And then I will post the paste pin in the description down below because I'm not playing Ditto anymore and I'm not playing Klefki anymore. I cut those 2 cards. Klefki feels so mid in this deck because you don't have as many pivot options as like a normal Charizard deck. And then Ditto, you just never draw. Same thing. You don't have as many pivot options. You don't have as many energy to be able to get into it early. So I just opted for a little bit more consistency and a little bit less of a tech option. So definitely nice to be able to just kind of see success with this deck. Super fun deck. If you guys want a fun deck to play for the current metagame, Charizard is definitely super good. And I think the only matchups you really don't want to see are Dragapult. Everything else is kind of fine. It's at least like even to winning, I think, against like the other top decks, right? Should have a good matchup in a Gardevoir. Should have a good matchup in a Goldango. And I think against like Boneless Zard, like the regular non-Terra stuff, you probably have a winning record into that deck because you do have the Waterpon. And then your deck's just a little bit more aggressive, especially if there's no Skulls. And then, yeah, Dragapult's just a bad matchup. So Thank you guys for watching. This video ended up being a little bit longer than I thought, but if you guys made it to the end, appreciate you for watching. It is DEF CON TCG with my Snuggie, and I am out.